So here we have a ton of chickpeas. I did a whole can from Costco, and it is 6.5 pounds, I believe. Basically, I'm putting it in a hot water bath until 20 minutes past boiling. It helps to make the chickpeas really smooth, kind of what you would get in a restaurant. If you don't do that and you use it raw, you'll have a much grainier type of consistency. It's still delicious, but this is just a trick that we learned. I'm just simmering the batch of chickpeas for about 20 minutes now. It came to a boil, and then I turned the heat down, and now they're just simmering. Now, as you can see, I'm making a huge batch of hummus. So I'm going to show you really quickly how I process garlic. Some of your parents may struggle with garlic. I have a really quick shortcut for you guys. I love garlic, and I love garlic in hummus. The more garlicky, the better. So basically, I take the different cloves out, and garlic is a bulb. It grows underneath the ground, kind of like a daffodil or tulip. You've seen those recently on my videos. But it's also a really, really wonderful, fragrant plant. And it doesn't smell much when it's here. You actually have to squish it and crush it for it to release its real flavor. So I'm going to show you what I do. First of all, I don't bother peeling it because I can take it off very quickly. What I do is I take the side of my knife and I smash it. And then you can see that the outside shell comes right off. And I could process garlic pretty quickly just doing this. And this is one of my favorite ways to do garlic. It's so simple. And the more you smash the garlic, and this is kind of fun, the better it tastes and the stronger the flavor, because what you're actually doing is you're trying to crush the outside cells, the cell walls, so that it releases all that goodness. Again, look at how fast that is. And you just peel the flesh of the garlic out, and the shell just goes on the side. It's just so simple, so simple. So you can see that with really like no effort, I just processed half of a full bulb of garlic. So then what I do is I actually have pretty decent knife skills. I just basically put my fingers on the tip of the knife and go down the line of garlic. Then I just keep going. I line it up. I do this. What I'm trying to do is just continuously chop until I get it as small and fine as possible. Once it's small and fine, and the more I do this, the more it will actually continue to break down. Once it's small enough, I throw it right in there and I blend it in with everything else. And that's how we do it. But you can see that is so much faster than what anybody else would do. Now, I do garlic this way, but it's not usually how I chop my vegetables. Usually, I chop my vegetables differently, and I can show you that at a different time. But garlic itself, I always do kind of this pivot cut. And again, I keep my fingers very far away from the edge. You always want to be careful. My little ones, you should not be doing this at all, but your parents may want to do this. They may want to learn some knife techniques. There are a number of YouTube videos that go over knife techniques, so if you want to start chopping like a pro, really simple to do. Okay, and I'm getting ready for my next stage. Okay, so we're back, and I've processed the entire bulb of garlic because I'm doing 4 times what the recipe is calling for because I had such a big can of chickpeas. Now you may say, what the heck are you going to do with all that hummus? Well, I'm going to freeze it. And by using freezer bags, basically you can store hummus inside of the freezer bag. You just pour some olive oil over it, and it kind of creates a seal. Then you freeze it just like you would anything, and then you just take it out the day before you want to use it and put it in the fridge, and the next day it's ready to go. So that's really my process here. So because I'm making such a huge vat of hummus, I used an entire bulb of garlic. I think it's going to be delicious. I did chop it pretty fine, but when I blend it, it's going to actually get chopped even further. Again, you want to smash it first. That releases all of that goodness inside of the garlic. Then you put the garlic in. I have an entire cup of olive oil that I'm going to be using because I have almost 4 pounds of chickpeas, and I'm going to be using most of the tahini that I have here. So it's going to be a really big batch of garlic, of hummus, I'm sorry. And you can see that I use the knife to kind of swipe things in. I try to not dirty as much as possible. I also have extra liquid that I saved when I actually pulled the chickpeas out, so that if it's not smooth enough, I can actually add some of the original liquid back into it. Just a little bit at a time until it's the consistency I want for blending, and that's how we're going to do it. So without further ado, I'm putting the whole cup of olive oil in there. It's a nice amount. I'm also going to open my tahini. Now, tahini is sesame paste. So it's like sesame seeds that they turn into paste. And it smells almost like peanut butter. And it's got this really like liquidy consistency. And basically all I'm gonna do, because it's such a large vat, I'm gonna pour most of it in. I'm gonna pour about, I don't know, I went a little bit over half. I'm gonna wind up tasting my hummus and seeing if it's good enough for me yet, once I actually blend it. But let's get to that step. Okay, you can see that I finally have it to a place where it's kind of a good consistency. It takes me forever because I only have a hand blender. They recommend a food processor, so if you have that, much easier. But I'm making such a big batch that I really needed to process it. I actually started by mashing everything with a mashed potato maker. This is actually how I make mashed potatoes at first, and then I blend it with a hand blender. So tools of the trade. I did have to use over half of the water that I had reserved. Again, I quadrupled the recipe that I'm going to share. I did have to use a little bit more tahini because it wasn't flavorful enough for me. And I did use a little bit more of olive oil. So I went up on all of my ingredients except the chickpeas. But it's coming out really nice, and I'll show you the finished product next. Okay, everyone, I'm finished my hummus. I made up a nice little plate. In addition, it made over 3 quarts of additional hummus. I threw a little bit of everything seasoning on top, the bagel mix, if you will, and some olive oil. And it's going to be hopefully pretty good. We'll see. I think in retrospect, I could have done the chickpeas on the stove a little bit longer. It didn't come out quite as smooth as I would have liked, but that's what I'll do next time. Live and learn. Delicious. I can taste the tahini, which is the sesame paste. Also, the olive oil is wonderful on it. Some variations, you can actually cut up some peppers, roasted peppers, and put them in. You can also use fresh garlic if you want that on top. There's a variety of things that you could put on top of the hummus. Hummus goes with almost anything. I'm using it with carrots right now, but pita chips are appropriate. You could use regular chips, some of the sourdough bread that you're now making, hopefully. There's a lot of things that go with hummus, and it's just a great afternoon snack. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy.